Hello Saxo fans, episode 21, welcome back. Right, limited chat at the beginning of this episode. I've got a lot of stuff to show you. I'm going to show you first of all the removal of the brake pedal assembly and the servo setup and all the linkage and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I'll do all the refurb, the strip down and refurb of all of that. I want to show you some of the gearbox stuff that I've got going on, and finally we're going to address some of the rust. Excuse me. As you know, some of the inner wings, I've got some repair panels. I've got these, so it's all about getting these in to replace those rusty parts or the poor repairs from before. So, without further ado, let's get on to the car and we'll get out the servo and brake pedal assembly. Let's do that. that's the whole servo system stripped apart and blasted. Yeah, all come apart nice and easy, no problems at all. These parts, all the bolts and things, I'm going to chuck through the whole zinc plating process. So that'll get them looking good. This, not entirely sure what finish that is on there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've put it through the blaster, and it's come up decent and clean and tidy. So, and it was never rusted. It was just dirty. So, I'm probably just going to leave that as it is. I've already oiled the little I don't even know what you call it there, the bush I suppose in there. That's all nice and free, so that's good to go. This was a problem. Obviously, you know, they go around where the master cylinder bolts to, and usually, typically at the bottom of the servo unit here was where they rust. So I took all that back with a wire wheel, did both sides. So yeah, that's ready to be painted now. So I'll get that done. So yeah, so a few little bits left to do before I put it back together. But in an amazing lack of continuity, to save you watching the same stuff over and over again, which is basically me bead blasting, painting, powder coating, or not powder coating, I haven't done any powder coating, zinc plating I meant, we'll cut straight to the finished item. So let's do that. There we go then. So servo unit's all done, so it had all the same treatment as the power steering stuff that I did in the last episode. It's all good to go. So one thing to note, for the first time in this whole project, I actually lost something. So in here is a little clevis pin that holds the servo master cylinder rod that goes through here to the bar, obviously, that connects to your brake pedal. Yeah, so I've lost this, which is a real shame. I don't even know, because I didn't see it, hear it fall out or anything like that. Anyway, I've ordered a new one, but it's the first thing I've actually lost in the whole project. So anyway, so that's all done. Had all the paint and zinc plating treatment, and it's come up really nice. So the next thing to do is do exactly the same again with the whole pedal assembly. See, this bolts over here like this. So I will now not show you that whole process, because again, it's just the same stuff. But I'll strip this down, same treatment, and we will cut straight to the finished article. There we go. Job's a good one. So this whole unit stripped down, took everything apart, took all the pedal arms and everything, all that out. Obviously over the years where feet have been on there, they were rubbing a couple of patches of rust, so that's all treated. Stripping this down is a little bit tricky. It's got, you know, spring-loaded things, and spring-loaded stuff is just the work of the devil. So yeah, you have to be a little bit careful and take lots of photos of your work and all that kind of stuff, so you remember how to put it back together. But actually, pretty straightforward system. So obviously these are the bolts and nuts that will mount it all back to the car. I will need to actually take this apart again before I put it back on the car, because this kind of needs to go in at a funny angle, and then I can bolt it all back together again. But yeah, everything's done on that now. So moving on to the next thing, and I really can't avoid the fact that I've got to get the angle grinders out and start cutting some holes and getting rid of some rust. So that is most likely the next thing that's going to happen. But in the meantime, I just want to show you some gearbox stuff. Okay, BE gearbox. So obviously I'm learning a lot as I'm going through this process. There are obviously a number of things that you need to convert a Saxo or 106 to BE gearbox spec. So thankfully Steve has been very helpful, who I originally got the gearbox from. So a number of things that need to happen. Number one, obviously, is this is all going to get rebuilt, painted, all of that kind of stuff in the future. That's for another episode. But in the meantime, there's a few things that need to happen, which I'm not going to do now, but this is where the gearbox needs to be mounted to. So I have here the actual mounting plate and the mount itself. This allows me to use the existing Saxo location for the gearbox mount of the previous gearbox. This goes onto here. What I need to do is shave these two lugs down to be level with this bracket and remove this bracket out of the way. This will allow this bracket to mount flush on 3 bolt positions. That's nice and easy. I need to bolt this bracket here onto the casing, which is where the clutch cable runs through, somewhere like that, I think a little bit lower. So that's all ready to go. I've already zinc plated that. The clutch fork needs to change, this one over here. So I believe that the BE is a hydraulic clutch traditionally and a push, whereas I need it to be a cable pull. So to do that, we fit this bracket and change the clutch fork. That's nice and easy, nothing too difficult there. Additionally, obviously drive shafts needs to go in. This is the rear drive shaft carrier, which bolts to the back of the block on a Saxo. It is slightly different for BE mounting, so you need one of these. You can see TU5BE. So also got one of those. So bits slowly coming together. I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to do with the gearbox is obviously fit a differential. So Steve again also sorted me out with a gripper diff. This is to road spec rather than a race or track spec. So hopefully a little bit more compliant, but should prevent those one tyre fires with the power I'm hoping to run. So anyway, this is for another episode, but I just wanted to run you through the fact that actually I've started accumulating quite a lot of bits, and yeah, this is going to feature in another episode fairly soon. So can't put it off any longer. I've got to go start cutting some holes in the car. So let's get it set up ready for that. Okay, so this is the passenger side inner wing from the engine bay side. So as you've seen before, I've got these repair panels to pop in because we've got some nasty rust. Having to think about what to do and how best to approach this. Obviously I've not done any sort of repair like this before with an actual repair panel, and getting in here is tricky, and there's a couple of constraints that I've got. You can see that this lip here is double skinned effectively, so this panel comes up to 90 degrees and is bonded or welded to this panel here. It's also the same down here, so the repair panel will sit here, and you can see these 90 degree edges. This one here is part of the front panel here, so I don't want to lose this section here, but obviously I want to get rid of the bit underneath, and I need to keep this but obviously get rid of this lip. And the problem I've got is actually getting the angle grinder in there to cut out that bit. So my plan of attack is to essentially cut out a line down here that's obviously narrower than where the panel will sit. I'm going to cut along here and then cut out as close as I can do and get in there with the cutting disc. Obviously this panel here is restricting me of where I can get into. So essentially I'm going to cut a big rectangle out of here, which will give me a little bit more clearance to get the angle grinder in a bit further. And then what I'll do is I'll cut as close as I can to the edge here, and then I'm going to use just an angle grinding disc to shave away this front panel, leaving the one behind it. And then the same with this from underneath, and then from there I can then trim back this slowly but surely to get this panel to fit. That's the plan. So there's nothing for it than just to start cutting really, and take a small bit out at a time and make sure I don't cut too big a hole. Let's get on with it. Right then, fabrication fans. So, long old montage there of me cutting, grinding, wire wheeling, the whole lot, but I've managed to get the other panel in. I think there obviously is some differences in Mark 1s to Mark 2s to Mark 1 facelifts, because this panel isn't quite an exact fit. Some of the ridges, like here for example, you've got 3 ridges on the body and only 2 in the panel. So yeah, I've had to sort of, a little bit of sort of fettling of this panel to get it in, which was always expected. But most importantly, I've kept this lip here. Obviously I've got rid of the old one, and I've kept this lip here as well. So I can, these are obviously just spot welded in, but I'm going to weld these all the way. And I'll probably just run a few seam welds on this particular one here. So yeah, obviously these panels are so thin and the body's so thin, it's a French tin can. So yeah, slow and steady with the welding, let it cool down, low heat and low speed is key. So I am going to continue to weld this one in and then also repeat on the other side. So yeah, I need to get cracking. So let's do a little bit of welding. Okay, that's everything welded in on this side now. So yeah, lots and lots of series of welds up this side. So obviously it does need grinding back and tidying up, especially as this will be on show. Yeah, a couple of sort of seam welds here, a few seam welds up the side. So traditionally these are spot welded through in a certain few places, but I just thought while they're there, you know, I'm not after originality, so as long as it's safe and secure. So this part up here is double skinned, effectively, which joins the turret. So I've got a weld at the top and I've welded it from underneath, so you can just see that line there. Yeah, so now I need to sort of go and debobble all of this from all the spatter that you get from a flux core welder. But for £100 welder, and for someone who's done very little welding in their entire life, I'm actually pretty pleased with that. So you know, it's not professional level by any stretch of imagination, but I wanted to show you because obviously I'm not trying to hide anything. Don't be wrong, they're not pretty, but once they're all ground back, they'll be fine. So let's get grinding back then, shall we? There we go then, all ground back, pretty good. Obviously it needs a coat of primer to stop it rusting. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that, and it's all nice and solid, it's not going anywhere. So I'm really pleased with that. Job's a good one. On to the dreaded other side. Right, I'm going to call it a day there. I'm aware that, well, I like to keep the episodes at around about 20 minutes. Otherwise I just send you all to sleep. So in the meantime, I'm going to go away and get the other side, the other patch repair done, and I'll show you that in the next episode. I also want to get all the arches all prepared, so any other little spots that need addressing, and obviously we're going to do the whole engine bay in the same, what do you call it, Raptor bed liner as I did for the rest of the car. So yeah, that's about it for this episode. Please do like it, please do subscribe. It really does keep me motivated to know that the numbers are going up. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Lots of montages, not so much chat hopefully, and yeah, we'll see you again next time.